Good morning, everyone. I, Sneha R., the president of ZES, the Department of English, Deen Dayal Upadhyay College, University of Delhi, am honored to welcome you all to the ZES Plagiarism Workshop 2021, which is the first ever event among the events planned for the academic year 2021 to 2022. I would like to welcome Dr. Pramesh Ratnakar, who is a speaker of today's session and who is also our professor. Dr. Pramesh Ratnakar is a well-established and experienced writer with one of his books titled Centurion, along with many published works. He began his teaching career in the 1980s by teaching English to Cambodians who were all victims of the Pol Pot Holocaust. He has a keen interest in theatre and has been the key force behind the Theatre Society of the college, Yavnika. He moves swiftly and effortlessly on paper while writing haikus and on the court when he plays badminton. He is an alumni of St. Stephen's College, University of Delhi. He was also awarded Fulbright Scholarship in the year 1997, and he spent almost a year in the University of Pittsburgh, the United States of America. I would like to warmly welcome you, sir. I would like to warmly welcome our teacher in charge, Dr. Rohit P., and our professors, Dr. Anubha Mukherjee, Dr. Jeni Adhyapak, Dr. Lalit Kumar, Mr. Ranveer Kumar, Dr. Michelle Sharma, and Mr. Chandrasekhar Yadav to this workshop. I would like to welcome my course mates from the second and third year to this workshop. Last but not the least, I would like to welcome the ZEST office bearers, the ZEST executive team, and the coordinators and assistant coordinators, and the members of the ZEST graphics team, the ZEST content team, the ZEST organizing team, the ZEST YouTube team, and the ZEST theatre team.
Thank you, Sneha. That was a zestful welcome, and hopefully zestfully will continue. We are going to be talking about plagiarism, and let me just run through the presentation that we have, and then we'll discuss and talk. The presentation is in the form of a sort of a self-explanatory, and you can run through the slides, and it's kind of workshop. You have to decide what is plagiarism and what is not on your own, with the help of the comments and so on that will be there in the presentation. It's basically the Professor Darling is the one whose ideas are whose sort of concept I've used for this presentation. Carry on. Next slide. Here's the definition. Let's stop for a minute here. Using someone else's ideas of phrasing and representing those ideas of phrasing as our own, either on purpose or through carelessness, is a serious offense known as plagiarism. I've often talked about this to the students, and let me repeat this again. The entire structure of academics is based on the idea that we share knowledge. People think we are original, but hardly anyone is original in the sort of complete sense of the word. Academics is building upon knowledge of one person on the other. I mean, from Homer's time till now, we are learning from each other, and we are sharing knowledge and building upon brick by brick on what we have learned. If we do not learn to acknowledge what we have got from others, then we are bringing down the entire structure of academics, because no one will know whose idea is being developed, whose idea is being talked about if we don't acknowledge, and if you have to acknowledge, you have to do it in a standard formation. So whenever we are thinking of plagiarism, we have also got to think about research methodology in a systematic and serious manner. We'll talk about that later. Carry on to the next slide, please, Sneha. So that's a workshop. Workshop is when you do something rather than just listen to somebody. So here, decide whether you got a plagiarism version or not. Carry on to the next slide. Because women's wages often continue to reflect a fiction that men earn the family wage, single mothers rarely earn enough to support themselves and their children adequately. And because work is still organized around the assumption that mothers stay home with children, even though few mothers can afford to do so, childcare facilities in the United States remain woefully inadequate. That's the original text. That's a note that we have taken down from a book. And let's see what constitutes plagiarism and what doesn't. Carry on. This is the first version. Please go back to the original so that people can look at the original and compare this one. No, go back to the original. Now go to the version, next version. What do you think? Is this plagiarized or not?
Yes, I think it is.
Let's go to the comment. Too much direct borrowing, the writer changes. There's some words are changed and all that. Sometimes you think by changing a few words here and there, we have not plagiarized. But that's not the case. And citation, suppose the right you in absolutely formal strict sense, suppose you use this passage and give a citation. But if you're not putting the quotation mark, then that's bad news.
I think it's slightly plagiarized.
Okay, let's look at the comment. So there's quotation there, but the next bit is the outside the quotation again, too much borrowing. Let's go to version C. What do you think about this? Sheena, what do you think? Is this plagiarized or not?
Yes, sir. It is.
It is. Okay, good. Let's look at the comment. See, this idea of common knowledge is also a very important concept when we are thinking of plagiarism. Common knowledge is what everybody is supposed to know, and you can use that sort of without. I mean, even if you use the idea from somebody else, and the same sort of that idea is. I mean, this idea is contained in May's version, and it's contained in your version. But because it's common knowledge, it's not plagiarism. But if that common knowledge is being used to develop an argument, and you use the common knowledge to develop the same argument which the other person is used, then it becomes plagiarism. The bottom line is, whose idea is this? Whose thought is it? Is it yours or is it somebody else? And once you become really conscious of what is plagiarism and what is not plagiarism, you start recognizing your own ideas as separate from other people's ideas. And that's when your original thinking begins. Till the time you keep borrowing ideas from others and keep thinking they're yours and you are not able to distinguish between your idea and others, you are not going to be an original thinker. So look at the last point. Some of May's points are common knowledge. Women earn less than men. Many single mothers are living in poverty. But May uses this common knowledge to make a specific and original point, and original point conception of this idea is not acknowledged. So what is the original point that she makes? Let's go back to the original version. The original text. And because work is still available, that mothers stay home, even though few mothers can afford child care services, is hopefully inadequate. So she goes on to make the point that United States is the sort of general knowledge about the condition of women and so on goes on to a specific comment about the women state about the facilities in United States. And once you plagiarize, once you use all that, then you are into plagiarism. Okay, let's go to the last version. Now see how it's been done? This one is not plagiarized. Let's look at the comment. Oh, wait for we'll come back and look at it again. Go back to the version D. Now you got the idea what plagiarism is, I hope.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, how do you plan to get out of this trap?
Maybe by citing the original authors.
Citing means how you'll keep quoting again and again. Your essay will be nothing else but quotation mark. See, there are two ways of. One is citing. Of course, you have to cite that citations have to be given, and you have to follow the MLA style sheet and all that. But the problem is this: suppose you just keep quoting directly from word to word, which is safe to do. You will always have. I mean, your whole essay will become full of only quotations. And if you paraphrase, then you have to paraphrase the way this darling has explained to you. You have to take out the argument and put it in your own words, and then comment on the argument. And this ability to, this is what I keep trying to tell you when I tell you, when you look at the critical, don't just look at the critical essay for information, look at the debate that's going on, look at the arguments that are being developed, and try and focus on the argument. Okay, I'll give you the one technique that you can use to make sure that you don't plagiarize. One simple technique. You make notes from a book or from an essay, you copy it out and you look at it and you write it out in the note or whatever you like and all that. But when you are writing an essay, don't look at that note. write from your memory rather than looking at a note. The minute you look at a note directly which you have made, the language will creep in. But if you don't look at the note, then you'll work on the arguments and the ideas that the other person is using rather than if you look at something, then quote it directly. There's a practical way of, there's a practical tip I'm giving you to avoid plagiarism in the best sense of the word. Suppose this note is there. Let's look at this first. Let's look at the original text of it. The original version, the original text of this note. Suppose you have copied this note from an essay and this is in front of you. Now you want to talk about women wages and the idea that because the women wages have not been, they do not reflect they do not help in the women in terms of equality of wages and all that. If you look at this note and try and put it in your text, then some of the language will creep in. But if you remove this note and try and capture the idea in your own words, then you'll likely to get to the argument rather than the language. Not easy to do because you always sort of feel insecure and you end up looking at the notes that you've made. But that's where the damage happens.
If I may say something.
Please. Most welcome.
I'll also switch on my camera. Now we are so used to the rote method and we are so used to quoting other people. Sometimes our original thoughts get subsumed in what others have said. And it's an inherent problem when we are studying, reading, getting ourselves educated. We go by what has been said by this or that. First, to have a critical inquiry, to be able to even question what has been said, to be able to essentially question what has been said or what is being taught to you needs to be developed. So skills of plagiarism, the skills to get out of plagiarism, I think are taught while we teach students to have a critical inquiry. So if I have to question Ellen Tyler May, I need to have an alternative discourse or an alternative argument. How do I build my alternative argument? Or how do I even reiterate what Ellen Tyler May is saying from either my experience or from other readings? How do I counter this or how do I reiterate this? Now, this is essential to pedagogy. So I think when we are into a copy-paste and downloadable culture where we are constantly downloading information without even questioning or applying our minds to it, plagiarism will be only on the rise. So I think all pedagogical tools should be aimed at eliciting what the student is thinking about it, what the student wants to say, and how the student wants to react to it. To begin with that. So that is what I wanted to say. We need to elicit more of very personalized, engaged reactions based on interactive discussions so that something emerges from that discussion, which I can later use or reproduce in my answers, which typically definitely doesn't happen in online classrooms where there is no room for much interaction or discussion. And everything that is said by the teacher is taken as a given. So we go around saying, Dr. Pramesh said this, Dr. Lalit said this, Dr. Jaini said this, Dr. Rohit said this. What did you say? What do you have to say on it? So I think we need to constantly encourage that. And plagiarism will be on its way out on its own. So a lot of these comprehension exercises aim to do that. So paraphrasing, the central theme or the central essence of the idea that has been reproduced here. So that's a skill that we also need to learn, how to get zero down on the key elements, like you said, of what has been said. And then perhaps saying it in your own words and substantiating it with
what we are doing in terms of what Anubha is pointing out, what we are actually doing is plagiarizing, teaching our students how to plagiarize more and more rather than less and less when they join first year, second year, third year. I mean, when they are making their notes, they don't put down, they don't take the note taking is not done in a proper way because you don't write down the author's name, you don't write the publishing details, you don't have the information by which you can do citations.
It's very important for students to get trained from the outset. And the second thing that I would like to say here, or rather the first thing is that whenever we quote an author or a critique, we must ask this question to ourselves. Why are we quoting him or her? Are we quoting an author or a critique merely for the sake of quoting or showing off our knowledge or for the sake of quoting two critics in an answer? What is the purpose? And the purpose is to build an argument. Whosoever you quote, you must see whether you are going to refute the argument of the critique or support it. So there are two ways in which we can do it. Either you cite someone and then see how that critique has been received by others, how that author or critique has been read by others, how he or she has been interpreted by others. Then you can build upon a series of criticisms in that answer. Or you can use it either to support our argument or to refute it. These two purposes should always be kept in mind at the background of the mind. This is what I would like to say.
You read criticism, try and read not just essay, but try and get an idea of the critical debate on which the essay is a part of. That's the way. That's the way you develop your critical thinking.
While teaching Swift, it's important for us not only to read the text or the context in which the satire was written, but also how Swift has been read by subsequent generation of critics. How Gandhi read Swift, how Orwell read Swift, how Said read Swift, how W.B. Yeats read Swift, and then we build our own argument. So whenever we quote all these authors, after quoting them, after citing them, we start a dialogue among all these critics, then arrive at our own conclusion. This is what I mean by reception. Reception of an author or a critic.
That's the reception in the largest sense of reading that. That the essay is not just information. That essay has been written as part of a critical debate. The author, any literary scholar will write, unless if you read just the introduction of the text, then that is not the author is not developing an argument. But if you're writing a critical essay, then you are taking part in an argument. So even from that one single essay, you will be able to guess what are the arguments that are going on, what are the questions that are being raised, if you learn to read critically.
Maybe, like some of us might think, why has plagiarism become so important all of a sudden? It used to be, though the issue was always been there, but it has come to the fore recently. I think one of the reasons why we are talking about plagiarism these days is earlier our access to knowledge was limited to books. Today, we have all the information on internet, and students and scholars find it very easy to copy, easy to plagiarize. But similarly, unlike earlier times, it is also very easy to detect plagiarism.
Yeah, there's software that will catch you out immediately.
Ramesh, I would like to add that we teachers, when we started getting these assignments in the form of soft copy, it's so you don't even need a software to detect it. You just copy and paste it in Google and search. You will be led to the link, to that website from where they have lifted. And it's not line by line, word by word. They just pick up everything, put it together, and expect to get marks.
But the entire approach that a collection of information will be treated as an assignment, that needs to be attacked very early in life, especially because of the digital platform. How do we get out of that? That is the larger question. In the OBE exams, you won't believe it, we had copy paste of all kinds, and the language was so ornamental and so correct. And sometimes the criticism is something that I haven't read before. And you could easily put it to test and where the criticism has been borrowed. What about these perfectly written answers, which I could not always challenge? So that's the problem of a digital platform also.
I think the only way is to inculcate integrity. We should always try to, rather than focusing on marks and numbers, we should, I think the problem is because our focus is entirely on number. How much are we getting?
And what is the syllabus all about? Is it cramming of all kinds of information, or is it about processing that information and then reproducing it and your comments on it?
Now, what are you doing about it to save yourself and to protect yourself, or to get on the right path and to think of, what do you think is the challenge vis-a-vis plagiarism for you?
I think the challenge is that it takes a long time for us to figure out that we are actually plagiarizing. And it took a long time for me to sort of learn how to cite. Still, I'm not that perfect in citing authors, and just today I realized that I've been doing it wrong. So I think this workshop is very useful, and at least now we realize that we are supposed to cite and always give credit to the original author. So I think the same thing that Rohit had said, we have to give it, sort of put the emphasis on originality rather than giving marks to the beautifully structured answers.
And the problem is, for most of us, from the teacher's point of view, if everybody is plagiarizing, everybody is copying, what do? Either you fail everybody, and if you give marks to one person, then you have to give marks to everybody. And if you're giving marks to people who have plagiarized and copied, then obviously you have to give marks to the better copier than the rest of it. Somewhere, I think we have to take a call whether we are going to hold on to the standards of true academics, or we are not going to hold on to the standards of true academics as teachers. That's the bottom line.
Yes, sir.
Sir, can't it be checked with the date of submission?
Sorry?
Sir, can't we check this by the date of submission?
No, date of submission is not, see, learning is not going to happen if you plagiarize and if you copy and if you don't distinguish the ideas, your ideas from other people's ideas, and if you're not focused on developing your ideas. So date of submission, if you copied, if suppose 20 people submit on the same date and 20 people have plagiarized, then what do? You fail all 20.
And Pramesh, I would also like to add here and not keep on interrupting you, but maybe this is my last point. What I want to submit right now is that to a certain extent, you are allowed to borrow. So here it is not that you cannot borrow an idea and build an argument and kind of express your own understanding on it. There is a limit to it. How much can you borrow? And you will read all these ideas and then learn to develop your own. So the idea is to read a lot, try and understand it, and then rebuild your own understanding and express it in your own language. That is the procedure I guess we are trying to inculcate. If I'm wrong, Pramesh, you can elaborate on that.
So Jenny, you're totally right. In fact, I started off by saying that true academics involves only, not just, I mean, all of us are borrowing ideas from everybody else. You cannot be original in the sense that you come up with something which is completely new and you always build upon other people's knowledge. So that's why the citation business is so important. Because if you don't cite, then everything collapses. But Jenny is also right.
One of my teachers telling me, sorry sir.
No, Jenny is also very right. In first year, let me finish. In first year, second year, third year, you're not a research scholar. You can't be. So there has to be certain margins given for the opening, for the first year and all that. And the main thing is think on your own, try and write on your own. And for assignments and so on, you are not going to be expected to be write like a research scholar immediately. But if the focus changes completely from original thinking and original writing, and you just sort of copy paste and put it across, and we end up giving you marks for all that, then there's a hell of a lot going wrong everywhere.
Sneha, checking plagiarism through a professional software is, I don't think that is required. You know whether you have plagiarized or not. Why do you require someone, if you have copied, you have plagiarized. If you have not copied, now, this plagiarism check comes when you are submitting a paper, when you are submitting your thesis.
Yes, sir.
There you also have to give a declaration that you have whatever you are submitting is it's an original work. So I don't think we actually need a plagiarism software if we are very careful. And as Pramesh said, we should be able to identify our thoughts from others. So we shouldn't confuse our thoughts from others. Most of the time, that's what we think. Let us muck up and reproduce. That's whatever we write is ours. That is not the way it is. Plagiarism softwares, even we can't afford it. Forget about students.
You can avoid plagiarism only if you learn how to take notes properly. If you don't take notes, if you don't know how to take notes properly, then you'll end up copying other people's ideas, thinking. I mean, not even intentionally. You unintentionally think of other people's ideas as your own, because you are reading 10 essays. You read 10 essays, you don't know which ideas come from where, because you've not learned to separate one idea from the other. See, proper note taking means one space, one point, one heading, and in that one space, one point, one heading, one idea, you write down the author's name and the page number from where you're taking the idea and the book details from where you're taking the idea. That's how you make notes. But we make notes on a register, we copy paragraph by paragraph, and we don't separate one idea from the other, then everything will get mixed up, and by the end of it all, your head will be, you will never know what is your idea and what is not. And see, in our department, we tried this out for 2-3 years, and we worked very hard on creating awareness about plagiarism and how to make notes and all that. And it worked very well for us for 3-4 years. Then it sort of disappeared once the annual mode was replaced by the sort of semester mode.
In fact, I think we should explore one of these online courses which are not too expensive towards research methodology, where this awareness, how to cite text, etc., is easily available.
And make it happen. Make everyone do it in class.
Yeah. So, and at a very basic level, there should be some basic tips given to students who are reading for the first time or not reading even for the first time. None of us are reading the text anymore. Leave aside the critical debates on it. So I suppose very soon we'll be back to the physical space, and these kind of interventions should be made now so that we are ready when we are in the physical space also. I remember when we did the wiki page, for instance, Pramesh, the students had the capacity to attend that kind of a workshop. From downloadable to an uploading culture, because the moment you upload, it has to be original. So the entire wiki approach was towards that shared learning, but shared learning of what kind? Original content, stuff. For example, today's workshop is an original stuff, which hasn't been plagiarized, or even the songs that you were singing, or the function that they did for Zest. That's original.
What do you have to say about plagiarism and what's happening and what so on? Good afternoon.
So whatever, like a few days ago you were just talking about plagiarism, and whatever happened today, I just quite agree with all these things, because to large extents whatever is happening, like whatever is taking place with us, it's quite the worst thing. Because so I'm not denying that I'm not indulged in it. I'm also in to some extent I'm also indulged in this plagiarism. But till now I've found that whatever I did, it was not good. It was like quite destructive thing for me, and now, sir, everything is quite clear to me. Whatever happened in the in this program, I understood everything. And I'm just making sure that from now onwards I'm not going to indulge in any kind of plagiarism, and I'm just clearly to say that I'm not going to be plagiarist from now onwards.
Don't be too tough on yourself. Not easy, but yes, you make a start and you try your level best not to be a plagiarist.
So I'm Nandana.
Good. Please add.
So I just wanted to just point out an important thing, that is about the use of internet while using assignment or writing an assignment. We have unlimited number of things, PDFs, links, websites available when we are doing an assignments for our research and all. It's just for research. If we have a doubt on the topic we are going to do an assignment, we can do it for researching it. We can do it, use the internet for just picking up points to just add to our assignments. But plagiarism, even in my school days, and even I too have done it without knowing what exactly it is. But now I know what exactly it is, and what will be the after effect of it. We need to make the best use of the books available to us, and we can also use the internet for research too. But copying a thing that one have already done isn't a good thing. Isn't a good work. Also, we need to do something which is our own, which is our unique work, which is good for us.
Nandana has pointed out more problem which is related to this issue. If you have got huge amount of information floating around, how do you decide which one to look at and which one not to look at, which one to give importance to and which one not information floating around? So to all the students, my suggestion would be, go to sites or go to places where somebody has already selected what is important or what is not. And that's why I try to encourage read from books which are there rather than websites, because websites.
Yeah, so this is another practical input. When you have prescribed text in the classroom with selected essays, with a certain critical thought built in while the book was edited, and there could be several editions of that book available by several authors, but this one is there available. It's the classroom text. So why wouldn't you start there?
Starting point, build upon it.
When we go to foreign universities, I think the first thing that we have to do is give a written commitment that we will not plagiarize. Just like we have an anti-ragging declaration here, there is an anti-plagiarism declaration in almost all foreign universities. And if you are caught doing plagiarism, I think it's going to lead to severe consequences.
Yeah, our systems have not created the awareness. Vice chancellors and head of departments are still getting into trouble now.
Yeah, and yeah, so it's very sad. Because you have been brought up in that system, and that system continues to reiterate even by people like us. So how can you just go back and blame them for what they did? So that lynching of people in positions when they didn't know better.
This is precisely what I was also going to say. Once my supervisor told me that if you are writing a 200-page book, there will be only 2 or 3 ideas which are original, which are yours. The others will be you are using others' argument to bring your argument, to substantiate, to establish your argument. So a book can't have more than 2 or 3 original ideas.
And Rohit, the problem lies in the ways in which research is being done. It has been done for years now. You write one sentence and add 10 footnotes. What will come out of it? And that is why people or the masses feel a disconnect from the kind of research that academicians have been doing for years now. Somehow, I think, we are unable to take a lead in that, but somehow this also needs to be changed. And that's why, Anuha ma'am, at times I wonder, does a PhD, the way PhD is being done these days, because a better scholar, and at times my answer is no. It doesn't make you.
It doesn't make you, and never fit it for the class. And that kind of a scholar goes to teaching when there is no training for teaching.
I pointed out these things because it's important for us to tell our students how not to do research, how not to write. It's important.
What you pointed out was something I wanted to develop a little.
Yeah.
See,
okay.
What Lalit was pointing out is also, what is at the end of the day? Why are you studying? What is higher education? What is higher academics? What is that we are aiming for? You want to take the frontiers of knowledge a little further, not just for yourself, but for all of humanity. That's higher education. Higher education is not just passing exams and getting a new degree. PhD by definition is taking an area of knowledge and taking it further than for not just for yourself but for the rest of the world. And if you don't have these kind of ideas in your head, then you will not be able to sort of. And I mean, this is not something. If you look at the number of people who have been given the chance to go into a university and study in terms of global population, what do you think is the percentage? And at the end of it all, after getting all these privileges, you end up doing nothing except thinking of a little bit of an increment and a little bit of a salary and a little bit of this, then you are wasting a lot of opportunities and a lot of significant opportunities to make contribution in the larger sense of the word.
I completely agree with that. We have to push the frontiers of knowledge. And whatever you learned during your PhD, how are you bringing it back to the teaching? If you're a teacher that is in the classroom,
how it's bringing it back to human beings, real people in the class outside. Lalit is pointing out not just in the class but outside the class also.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, as academics, we are supposed to show the way, as we are supposed to lead the way, we are supposed to show what works, what doesn't work, we are supposed to discriminate. And if we are not trained ourselves to this, we have not set our visions on this, we have not set our goals towards this, then we'll end up becoming this. I mean, we'll not be academics in the true sense of the word. And
True.
This is pointing out a very pertinent thing.
At one point of time, when we would go for our study leaves on PhD, we were asked to fill up how are you going to carry this back to the classroom and forward. So, and that's a statement of intent that you wrote down. I don't know whether one is thinking like that anymore. One is trying to do PhDs, as you said, for promotions, for some incentives, only that.
So let me sum up a little bit. We are at the end of it all. Let's have some practical tips for the students so that they can avoid plagiarism. At the end of it all, we have already given them. Please make a note of them, Sneha. Work them out systematically. We have given you an understanding of what exactly is plagiarism, and that understanding boils down to being able to discriminate the argument, the knowledge, the specific points that the sort of the writer that you're looking at is developing, and distinguishing them from your own thinking. This whole thing will work only if you know the basic fundamentals of research methodology. So you try and master that, and it will work if you have an argument of your own to develop. It will work if you have a higher ideal of education in front of you. It will work if you have a larger mode of thinking, where you're not just focusing on your own career and your own benefit, but you're thinking of education in terms of having awareness and responsibility for others and others around you, and in the largest possible sense of humanity at large. I think that's my summary. If anyone wants to add to it, please feel add, and then we'll conclude.